Happy Saturday, everybody. What is going on? It feels good to be back podcasting again, as this is the first time you've had me in podcast form since last Saturday. We were here last Sunday for the watch-along, but it was a busy week. I wasn't up here for Raw or anything because of these international Raws, plus my work schedule has been a little bit jacked up. So it's kind of been a week since I've seen you guys, but we're going to be here for the next 3 days streaming, maybe even 4, so just stay tuned for that. And should be a fun week as we are heading into WrestleMania time now, getting down to the nitty-gritty final, 3 weeks or so left, and WWE is still overseas for Raw and SmackDown. They finally return next week for SmackDown in Chicago, and then we have the remainder of the shows here in the U.S. before we get to WrestleMania, but we're going to be talking a lot about the WrestleMania build. We're going to be talking about this week's Raw and SmackDown from Glasgow and London, respectively. This Monday's Raw is also in London, and then finally everybody heads back home. So we'll talk about the latest there with Cody, with Cena, and last night's big contract signing between CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, which was a fantastic segment, and I really liked the cliffhanger at the end with Punk said, "That's not the favor I'm owed." So there is some potential here for a lot of fun and more potential swerves leading into WrestleMania, at WrestleMania, and even after WrestleMania. So that kind of set a lot up there. We're going to be talking about what that potential favor could be. And we're going to be getting into a lot of those results. We got to talk Raw. We got to talk Dynamite. We got to talk last night's SmackDown. We're not going to do a thorough review of all of those shows, but we're going to talk about the key points and what WWE and AEW are looking at heading into WrestleMania and Dynasty, respectively. Also, there's a ton of news to get into. We have some Hall of Fame news. We've got some news on WrestleMania's ticket sales. We got a lot of AEW comings and goings with Saraya, Mariah May, and Mina Shirakawa. TNA let a bunch of people go, which has a lot of heads left scratching, and we've got some interesting random tidbits as well. We'll talk a little bit about Season 6's Dark Side of the Ring, which kicked off this week, and like I said, we're going to be detailing Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite, looking at the Dynasty and Mania cards, talking about Rey Fenix, Aleister Black, all that kind of stuff. So that is what is on the menu today. And again, I want to thank you guys for being here because we are up a little bit earlier and I forgot to put a post up in the community tab. Usually when we're up here early, like 5 Eastern like this, I try to warn you guys in a community post and I just straight up forgot to do it. So if you're not expecting me up this early, sorry about that. Hopefully you can at least catch this on demand if our live numbers don't do too well. But I wanted to give myself enough time today to have a nice 2-hour podcast because when I was making my notes last night, they were adding up. We got a lot to get into, so I wanted to allow myself enough time before I head into work this evening to talk to you guys about everything. So that's what's on the menu today. Here's what we have going on over the next couple of days. Tomorrow night, big WrestleMania watch-along. It's going to be a long show. We talked about it last week when we were watching, what were we watching? Oh yeah, WrestleMania 11. We watched the worst WrestleMania of all time last Sunday night. It was only 2 hours and 25 minutes, that shitty WrestleMania. And when we were talking in the chat last week, some of you brought up WrestleMania 28, that it would be a good one to do because it's Cena, it's Rock, and they're heavily featured, or at least Cena is. I don't know what happened to The Rock since the heel turn at Elimination Chamber. He's not around anymore, but Cena and The Rock supposedly going to be heavily involved at this year's WrestleMania. So WrestleMania 28, it's going to be the first watch-along that we've ever done on this channel of a show that happened while my YouTube channel existed. I was already here back in 2012 doing stuff. So we reviewed WrestleMania 28. This was long before I was appearing on camera, way back in the day, and we're going to watch that one. 4 hours long, so eat your Wheaties, get some caffeine, ready to go tomorrow night. We're going to be up here at normal time for that. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific here to watch WrestleMania 28. Monday, this Monday's Raw is still overseas. It's going to be airing at noon Eastern, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific for me on here on the West Coast, and they're going to be in London. So just like the last couple of weeks, I'm not going to be here for a watch-along, but I will be here for a review of Raw later on in the day, probably around the time Raw normally starts. That's when I'm going to schedule the review for. I've got my doctor's appointment to get my blood taken out on Monday, so I'm going to kind of figure out what time all that's going on, give myself enough time to catch up on Raw if I missed any of it, and then come up and do a review. So we will be here on Monday, not for a watch-along, but for a review. Week after that, I'm going to miss because I will be at work, but we will be here for the Go Home Raw to do a watch-along all during WrestleMania week. You should have a video from me or a live stream every single day of WrestleMania week coming up, and I'm formulating that schedule right now. I'm getting it worked on. I'll have it done by the beginning of the month here. So just keeping that in mind for tomorrow's watch along and Monday's Raw review. We will be up here doing both. So that's kind of what's on tap here for the next couple of days. Let me cruise over here to the chat, just do a couple of quick shout outs, and then let's jump into some wrestling news. And we're going to start with a really fun story involving the WWE Hall of Fame. Good to see population too many up in here. Max Pokebra rolled his eyes so hard when Seth whined about Punk not deserving the main event. Yeah, Seth is might go completely off the rails here. We're going to be talking about that later on. El Magnifico, good to see you. Ajax Johnson, we got Jay Lambo, Red Raven Rucker, William Cullen, we got Tatanani up in here. Good to see Damian Drain, Colin Wright, David Brown, and Barry. I wasn't really looking forward to the Hell in the Cell episode of Dark Side of the Ring, but I watched it. Elizabeth and I watched it. It was fine, but it's stuff that we already knew. But I did like how it did kind of focus more on Foley's family, so it tried to make it a little bit different, but, again, it was just a story that's been told, Gilbert, good to see you. Denny Downbad is here. So is Isaac. So is Surge. And Colin Wright's dropping in $5 for us. Thank you for that, my friend. I need to take issue with this claim by some of racism towards Bianca at Raw due to booing. It is slanderous towards the Scottish wrestling fans. I don't know why Bianca is being booed. Some European countries are racist. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, where the hell do all of us Americans come from? We all came from over there. We're all racist as fuck here. At least the horrible people are, but I don't understand what's going on with Bianca. The thing is, somebody in that situation is going to have to be the heel. I guess they just chose her, but if you ask me, Rhea is kind of the one that's acting more heelish, so I don't know what's going on with the boos towards Bianca over there. It'll be interesting to see how she's received when she gets back over here, and what they're planning to do with that situation. I feel like they're definitely setting up for yet another triple threat, and I have to ask, what the hell is going on? Is it just me, or is this turning into WrestleMania 2000? I mean, what's going on here? We're going to have one for, we got the Punk one. That one's going to be a triple threat now with Bianca and Io. We've got probably 2 multi-man matches for the US and IC. That's too much, man. I don't know. But it definitely looks like those 3 women are headed towards a triple threat, as Bianca is going to be the special guest referee this coming Monday for Io Sky defending her title against Rhea Ripley. That's going to wind up in some situation where Adam Pearce is going to blow his top and announce that it is now a triple threat at WrestleMania, as predictable as it can be. That's probably what's going to happen there. Good to see Sonic Plays in here. Mark, K-Dog's Kennel, Ian Dunn, Domo97. Right on. Anybody else chiming in? Good to see you. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for being here at the special early start time of 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. But I got a busy day, so I wanted to give myself enough time to talk to you guys before I have to head off to my other job. Saturday is my longest day of the week. Saturday is my longest day. Monday's my easiest day. Really weird how that works out. But today, we are going to talk about a lot of stuff, and I want to open up with some wrestling news because we got some fun news yesterday regarding the WWE Hall of Fame. WWE is going to start inducting matches into the Hall of Fame. And the first match going in will be this year in this 2025 class. And it's going to be the legendary match between Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, submission match, WrestleMania 13. If you were to say that's the best match in WrestleMania history, I absolutely would not argue with you. If you were to say that is the greatest match in WWE history, I might not argue with you either. And when it comes down to historically significant matches that the effects of which are still felt today, this is one. This is definitely up there with, this might be 1A and 1B. If you combine this with probably Hogan and Andre from WrestleMania 3. So I am loving that they have chose this match to do first. Both Bret Hart and Steve Austin will both be at the Hall of Fame. So I'm not sure if they're going to be actually inducted, come up on stage together. They used to do this at the Slammies back in the day with the match of the year. Both guys come up and, receive an award or a plaque or a ring. I don't know what they get. This will make Bret Hart a 3-time Hall of Fame inductee, as he's gone in as a singles with Jim Neidhart as the Hart Foundation, and now with this match. Now, this is going to open up the door for a lot of guys to be 3-time and even 4-time Hall of Fame inductees. So at some point, we're going to get, Grand Slam, the first ever Grand Slam Hall of Fame winner or something like that, going in for a match, a tag team, a faction, a singles. You could essentially, and then maybe multiple matches, like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart are probably going to be inducted multiple times for some of their matches. So you're going to be talking about 6, 7-time Hall of Fame inductee or Hall of Fame recipients, 10, 15 years from now. It's going to be nuts. So I like the idea of this. This is something that UFC's been doing for quite some time, and we have talked about the possibility of WWE inducting matches before, and I've always been fine with it, provided that they just don't do it all willy-nilly the way they do with the wrestlers and the individual inductions, So like I don't want a Coco Beware version of a match going in. I want WWE, if they're going to do this, first of all, I have a question. Are we talking about just WrestleMania matches going into the Hall of Fame or matches in general? Because they didn't really say that. Austin and Brett is a WrestleMania match. I would assume that all matches would be eligible for the Hall of Fame, not just WrestleMania matches, but I don't know if I got that clarified. I'm assuming it's all matches. So if it's all matches spanning, all pay-per-views, all years, all time periods and eras, then what I think WWE needs to do to avoid this not becoming a joke is to induct the most important and most historically significant matches first. Focus on those first. A lot of people might argue that the first match that should have gone into this is Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. Today, incidentally, is the 38-year anniversary of that show, which is fucking nuts. Is that right? 38 years? Holy shit. And when you look at the epicness of that match, I wouldn't argue if that match went in first. The problem is I cannot stand Hulk Hogan. He is a piece of shit. Andre the Giant has passed away, and I think if they would have inducted that match first, what that would have meant is another opportunity for WWE to parade Hogan out on stage. And I don't think the fans would have liked that. He was booed out of the damn building in LA. If they were to bring him out to be the first inductee to this, Immortal Moments wing of the Hall of Fame, and they were going to induct Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant's legendary match at WrestleMania 3, and then the fans shit on him, that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be a good omen for this new wing. And if Hulk Hogan would have not turned into the scumbag piece of shit that he turned out to be, then this should be the first match to go in because of how important that was. And also Andre the Giant is the first person to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. So it would almost be fitting that his match with Hogan would be the first match in. But Hogan kind of ruined that. And I believe that if Hulk Hogan would have maintained a good reputation, or if he would have a reputation to this day that somebody like a Mick Foley has, or somebody that's just respected and just isn't a fucking asshole, then that match probably would go in. But Hogan would have gotten shit on, and then that would have really put a damper on the significance and the importance of that match at WrestleMania 3. So doing Brett and Austin from WrestleMania 13, I think in more of a modern era, that's looked at as a huge match in the company, easily the greatest double turn of all time. And, the match and the climax and the way that whole thing concluded, changed the direction and the course for WWE. By that next year, Austin was winning the title at WrestleMania. The Attitude Era was here, and there was no turning back. WCW was in the rearview mirror about a year after this match happened. So it was very, very important. And if you weren't going to do Hogan and Andre, Brett and Austin would be the next best thing. And I think that is the best option for this year, considering if you're going to bring these guys out on stage, Brett and Austin are going to be universally beloved by the audience, not only at home, but in the arena, where Hulk Hogan might have been a different story. So for those wondering, man, if you ask me, Hogan and Andre should have gone in, you got to blame Hogan for that one. Because I think if Hogan wasn't a piece of shit, it would be going in. And even WWE, who has a partnership with him and his beer, they're not stupid. They don't want him going out there and getting booed. So even though they might not have a problem with Hogan, and they might have forgiven him for the scumbag that he is, they know that the fans probably haven't. And if he got booed in LA, he's going to get booed in Vegas too. So it wouldn't make sense to do that match, which is why I personally believe in my head, just, making an educated guess here, that's why Bret Hart and Steve Austin is going in. And I like that. So, like I said, all I care about and all I ask for with these matches going in is that you take the biggest matches first. You're going to have to do Hogan and Andre. That one's going to have to go in. You're going to have to do Savage and Steamboat. You're going to have to, I would do Hogan and Sheik. I would do Hogan and Iron Sheik. Even though that was a quick match, wasn't really a technical masterpiece in the ring, but that's a huge match in the history of the business. Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik when Hogan won the title in '84. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. Shawn and Razor in the ladder match. Shawn and Flair at WrestleMania 24. Think of all the matches Bret Hart had for the Intercontinental title. Bret Perfect, Bret Piper, Bret Bulldog. All those matches should go into the Hall of Fame. So I think, focusing on those, the biggest ones first is what you should do. Not just throw a match out that just randomly came up in a meeting. Because there's a lot of good matches. There's thousands of great matches that have occurred in WWE throughout the years. And I don't want this to turn into what the Hall of Fame is. And let's just randomly just pull out names. Oh, we haven't done the natural disasters yet. Let's just do them. Well, what about Demolition? Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get to them one other day. Don't make it so willy-nilly like that. I think they need to focus on the most important matches first. Get those kind of done. Then you can kind of go into the other stuff and start worrying about your TLC matches and all that shit. But at some point when Cope and Christian are done with AEW and they got no more contractual ties, it would be cool to see the Dudleys, the Hardys, and ENC all on one stage accepting some big award for a TLC match. That would be kind of fun if we can get there one day. But in terms of these matches, I'm assuming it's going to be one per year. I don't know. I mean, there's enough room to do multiple matches per year if they want. But if they're going to do one per year, Brett and Austin is a hell of a way to start. So congrats to both guys, and congrats to my favorite wrestler of all time, the first wrestler to become a 3-time Hall of Fame winner. That doesn't necessarily mean he'll be the first person to become a 4-time, though. Because I think Sean could come flying in at any point and start taking up a lot of these matches. So I think next year it would be crazy if it wasn't Sean getting one of these awards. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of WrestleMania, I'm so glad I'm not going. All last year, I even would say on podcasts, next year, WrestleMania Vegas, I'll see you guys there. And then when it came to January 1st, when I, cracked my knuckles and went online to start looking at planning out this trip, it's Super Bowl prices. And I'm like, I'm not paying $2,000 to sit up in the fucking rafters when I can sit right here and talk to you guys and make money. And I went to WrestleMania 39 and had tremendous seats. We had great seats, and it was fucking expensive. Those same seats now are like 3 or 4 times more than they were. We're talking we're talking 5 digits to go to this show, and I'm driving. So I'm not even flying it. I'm driving, still spending that kind of money. So Vegas is out. Forget that. Those prices are insane. Those prices are insulting. And I ain't paying this damn company that kind of money and dropping 12 G's on a fucking wrestling show that I'm not even flying to. Kiss my ass. So opted not to go to WrestleMania and was kind of bummed about that until, we start getting into the build here, and it feels like, Cody and Cena something's not hitting yet or something. They're missing something. Hopefully they can really turn it up in the last few weeks here. And the build's kind of been a little bit lackluster. Plus you have these insanely high prices. WWE just gouging the fuck out of everybody. And it has adversely affected the ticket sales. As of last week, about a week ago, according to WrestleTickets on Twitter, there's around 45 to 47,000 45 to 47,000 tickets sold for each night. I think 45,000 for night 1, 47,000 for night 2. Now that was a week ago, so these could have gone up. They could have added another 1,000. Either way, they're just probably going to barely crack 50,000 for the show, which would make it the lowest attended WrestleMania since WrestleMania 22, the final show that they did in a regular arena before going back to the stadiums. So stadiums started at Ford Field in 23, and they've been in a stadium or outdoor stadium or indoor stadium ever since, and they've well surpassed 50,000 every year. And with them only in the high 40s right now, they're probably going to crack 50,000. They might even do 54,000, which I think is what the setup is for currently right now. Only 54,000. But you have to wonder why. I wonder why these ticket sales are so low, because they're a fucking arm and a leg. They're ridiculously expensive. And it's crazy to me that it feels like WWE is voluntarily opting not to have a sellout. WWE's product is red hot. Granted, the Mania build's been a little lackluster and underwhelming so far, which is kind of telling considering they're in front of international crowds and they're still giving us shit shows. But it still shouldn't matter. Cody's one of the hottest champions of all time. Lots of major stars in that company. It's WrestleMania time. Even bad WrestleManias are like pizza. Even when they're bad, they're still pretty good. And I think that if WWE wanted to, even with everything going on, they could easily sell this out and tout some big number like they like to do at every show and get on the microphone and congratulate the fans for their big attendance turnout or whatever. And they're going to sound a little weird trying to do that for this show when it's going to be the lowest attended show in nearly 20 years and 19 years. That's crazy. So they're probably going to have to do that combined thing. Luckily between the two nights, they should pull in over 100,000. So at least they'll get to say 100,000. So you probably wouldn't even know if they combine it. They're not going to announce the individual attendance each night, which I don't think they're going to with numbers like this. They're probably just going to announce on night 2 the big combined 2-day total, which will probably be about 105, 115,000 people, which is impressive. But it could be more. They could easily fill up Allegiant Stadium if they didn't have these prices that were so insane. You're getting to $400 or $500 for the very, very tippy top of the arena. It's not worth it. You slap down $500 to an AEW show, you're sitting ringside. So it's just not, it's just not worth it to a lot of fans. And you can tell. So WrestleMania is still going to be very impressive. There's going to be a lot of people there, but they're not going to be able to whack themselves off over their big, attendance figures and congratulate the fans for paying insane prices to come see their show. So when the business is hot and when they're firing on all cylinders, they can charge obscene prices for these events, but they are seeing a clear message from the fans that this is just too rich for our blood. Even people who can afford it don't want to go and spend that kind of money. I don't want to go and spend this kind of money. It's crazy. And, then for the fans that, that can't afford it, Jesus, that's so far out of my price range. Can you at least make WrestleMania affordable? For me, come on, there was a time when WrestleMania was affordable, not that long ago, where you could still go, and sit somewhere in the crowd for a reasonable price. That's what the fans deserve, not to spend, 3 months rent on a fucking ticket. So I'm happy that the attendance is down. That's what they get. Fuck them. They're still going to have probably a record gate. That's the thing that's so disgusting about all this. If they don't announce the attendance, they're going to announce their record gate. And they're going to congratulate the fans for paying the arbitrary amount of money that they decided the fans were going to pay. Congratulations, fans, for being fucking suckers, and spending 5 G's on a ticket that still has you 50 yards from the fucking... It's just crazy, man. So they're experiencing some low ticket sales. I'm sure the final push, the final week, they're going to open up some seats, some discounted prices. I know they're offering now, one-night tickets. So you don't have to go to both. And they're going to do some stuff, I think, to fill that arena and at least get it to capacity, which is probably going to be under 55,000 people. So just a reminder, that's less than All In 2023. No matter how many times you want to worry about your turnstiles and what Tony Khan did or didn't say, it's a hell of a lot less than All In 2023. And it seems crazy that WWE is doing this voluntarily. They're like, yeah, we're cool with not selling it out. Since when? Since when don't you guys want a fucking packed out arena? It's just crazy to me. So it's a different business out there. I might never get to a WrestleMania again if we don't start seeing some sort of a decrease in these tickets, because the only way I'm ever going to go to a WrestleMania again is if it's kind of in my neighborhood of the country over here on the West Coast. So we're talking, LA, Arizona, Las Vegas. I ain't going to New Orleans, that's for sure. So I don't know when I'm going to get to a WrestleMania again. But you know what? I had the time of my life at WrestleMania 39. It was so much fun. Great experience. WrestleCon, got to meet so many of you. If that's going to be my last memory of WrestleMania for a while, I can live with that. We always have Survivor Series right here in San Diego, so if anybody wants to come down and make the trip, we'll hang out at Survivor Series. Let's see here. We have some AEW comings and goings and possible stayings. Let's start with the goings. Saraya has left AEW, departing AEW. According to Saraya on her Rule Breakers, podcast, she said she's departing AEW amicably and mutually. And Fightful Select dug into this a little bit, inquiring about her official status with the company, and she is still listed on the company's website, which is usually a good indication of someone's contract status. The move also surprised almost everyone in AEW, and she'd only told a few number of people as of last week that the move was coming. Fightful inquired with Saraya's management team for clarification, and they said, quote, "I can confirm we've mutually agreed to part ways. Her services have been fulfilled, and we are parting on excellent terms." When Fightful followed up, we were told by them that Saraya is a free agent. So it sounds like her contract simply ran up. Sounds like she opted not to re-sign, and that's fine. I mean, Saraya really in AEW did nothing for me. To be honest, didn't really care much for her winning the title. I think it was very, very forced. I was happy for her to get that moment, in London after the career and the things that she's had happen to her. it was a good moment and everything, but, just overall, Saraya in AEW, I didn't know what she was going to, really do there. Now, can she go back to WWE? Sure, she could. She has been a general manager before, and if she wanted to go back there, I could see that happening because she really is a huge part of that beginning of WWE transitioning from the Divas era into women's wrestling. And she was a Divas champion, but she was kind of the first woman called up saying, okay, things are going to get a little bit better now. And then Saraya was the first one, and then the floodgates opened with your Charlottes and Sashas and Beckys and Baileys and all that. So, Saraya's history in the company, Paige's history in the company, good and bad. She's had some struggles. She's had a couple of, really, really bad relationships. This girl sure can pick them. A lot of fans don't have a lot of love for Saraya because her former boyfriend, fucking transphobe or whatever his deal was. I didn't even know who that guy was. I didn't care, but I know he's a son of a bitch. And apparently they're not together anymore, I don't think, but she was with him and she did defend a lot of his behavior. So that's going to sour a lot of fans on Saraya, a.k.a. Paige. But in the end, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't dislike Saraya, but I also would go on just fine through life if I never saw her again, type of thing. So if Paige comes back to WWE, sure, getting back in the ring and winning championships and competing with people like, Ripley and Bianca and Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton, I don't know. But her being there in some sort of a personality or ambassador role or something like that, I think is definitely possible. And she has, speculated that, her run as a wrestler could be winding down and she didn't really care to, be on top and that type of thing. So we don't really know what Saraya is going to be doing. But she is gone from AEW, and that experiment is over. Mariah May. We got some news on her. Here's some more news from Fightful Select. Fightful Select has learned that a number of staff, wrestlers, and higher-ups in AEW believe that former world champion Mariah May is in a contract year. Specifically, those that we've spoken to believe that her deal is up this summer. We've not learned if there are any option years attached to it, but one source in the company said they would be shocked if there weren't, as a deal this short is uncharacteristic for the push Mariah May got. And that is true. She just concluded this just amazing year-plus long storyline with Toni Storm, which is one of the best things I've ever seen. She is fantastic in AEW. I personally hope she sticks around and she resigns. She probably does have an option year. Sounds like maybe it's 2 years with an option for a third. But if she's in a situation where she wants to go to WWE and then Tony Khan picks up her option, then we're in another situation where somebody's just going to sit around and do nothing for a fucking year until they can get out of there. So what I'm hoping is Mariah May is very happy in AEW. She should be. She was treated splendidly there. My God, winning the Owen and winning the title and that whole feud. And she came in as a big deal right from the word go. So, with some talent, you can look at their time in AEW and say, oh, they need to get out of there. They should go to WWE. Mariah May is not one of those talents. She's not an Aleister Black or a Rey Fenix or a Miro or whoever. She's somebody that's been treated well, has done well, and I think her character and what she does is better suited right now for AEW than WWE. Mariah May in the WWE one day? Sure. But for this next contract, assuming all this information from Fightful Select is true, it usually is. That's why I pay them $10 a month. I think she should stick around, and hopefully she will re-up. And hopefully it's not just a matter of exercising the option. It's a matter of re-signing her on top of that, paying her big money to stick around. Because WWE is the big time, and that's always going to be attractive to talent. Luckily for AEW, they've treated Mariah May very well, and there shouldn't be any unhappiness or frustration on her part in any way regarding her booking, unless her whole plan was to use AEW as a stepping stone to get somewhere higher. But I just don't get that vibe from this right now. So we'll find out here in a few months if she leaves AEW, heads to WWE. Well, Greg was wrong, but I would like to believe that she's going to wind up re-upping with them. And I think Mariah in the WWE one day is absolutely not out of the question. But I think for her next contract, she should stay in AEW and really, really try to build up her legacy because they've got a good crew there, man. Look at what they did with Megan Bayne on Wednesday. You keep Mariah May around. I think Toni Storm. I said this before Toni Storm even became timeless. Long before she came timeless, I said, that is the best women's wrestler AEW has. She should be their Charlotte. She should be their cornerstone. And you should build the entire division around her. And they're kind of doing that now. And she's definitely the star. But you've got great. It's good to see Thunder Rosa kind of back on TV regularly now. You got Mercedes in there. Britt's kind of gone, but that's probably for the better. And Marina Shirakawa is finishing up with Stardom and heading to AEW as well. Not a big surprise there. She's already been there doing a lot of stuff with Mariah May. So I feel like Mariah and Mina Shirakawa should both stick around in AEW, or Mariah should stick around since Mina Shirakawa is coming in. And that's kind of what I expect. So I feel like we're going to get Mariah and Marina in AEW, and we may see Paige turn back up in WWE. And if we do, good for her. Maybe she can be a manager, maybe she can be a personality, or maybe she will flat out get in the ring. But she wasn't cleared by those doctors, so I don't know how that'll work if she comes back in. But best of luck to whatever Saraya, Mariah May, and Mina Shirakawa do in their futures. I'm a big fan of all three. TNA back in the news this week. More kind of head-scratching firings. They already let go Scott D'Amore a few months back, which really upset a lot of the talent. Kind of threw a little bit of, morale monkey wrench there in their locker room, and they're not doing themselves any more favors this week as they let go a handful of backstage personnel, including Gail Kim, who has been a great asset for them. And letting her go, I guess it's leading some to believe in the company that there is a regime shift in the works, perhaps. Here's what Fightful Select had to say about some of this stuff today. Over a dozen TNA talent reached out to Fightful regarding the news of Gail Kim's firing, which was met with shock, disbelief, and anger. It was unanimously unpopular. It was a new unanimously unpopular move based on those we spoke to, with at least one talent said that it made the decision for them not to remain in the company when their deal was up. There were others that told Fightful they were scared for their jobs. At least one person said they actually weren't surprised because Gail Kim has been very outspoken creatively and would sometimes butt heads with people in control. Another person indicated that, but said that's what you want out of a person in her position, someone who will advocate for a better show. We're told that Kim was very direct about her complaints when she felt like things could have been handled better or more professionally. Gail Kim was not involved in creative and had been pushing heavily for the Knockouts division to do more after the departure of Scott D'Amore. In all, the reaction to Kim's firing ended up being more unanimously negative than Scott D'Amore's decision last year, even. As negative as talent were publicly, it was even worse privately. So talent is not happy. TNA, feels like they were doing some things right, starting to draw some decent crowds. They got the partnership with WWE going on, but there's been some really kind of crazy moves that it doesn't sound like whoever the hell's in charge in that company behind the scenes, I have no idea. It just does not sound like it's a great environment because they've done some head-scratching things. Letting Scott D'Amore go was a huge deal. Gail Kim, letting her go is insane. Plus all of the other backstage people that were let go that had prominent roles, important roles in the company, letting them all go while at the same time bringing Tessa Blanchard in. So I don't know about TNA, man. It's kind of disappointing, but maybe the fact that they're doing all of this, so many drastic changes while this partnership with WWE is going on is a little bit weird. I would not want to do anything to jeopardize that if I was in their position, but letting Gail Kim go has led to a lot of backlash. Now, what I'm hoping, Gail Kim did post a nice message on social media thanking everybody for the support and the love and whatnot. And there's been a lot of people calling for Tony Khan to hire her. And I think that would be great. Gail Kim is somebody that should not be unemployed unless she wants to be. If she wants to be unemployed, great. But she should never not have a job in pro wrestling. So if Tony Khan wanted to bring her in to be, a part of the women's division, backstage, booking, things like that, I think she'd be a great asset, and what, one company's loss could be another company's gain. So I think either AEW or WWE should bring Gail Kim in. I think if WWE brought Gail Kim in as a producer or an agent or something, and then she decided she didn't like it there, she could just escape through a small opening in the floor in Gorilla, right underneath the stage, right out to her car. Nobody would probably even notice. But I kind of hope she gets brought into AEW. I think she'd be great there. Somebody to really help out, work with the women, and more women in these roles, I think would be really great. We have a scarcity of women in backstage roles in wrestling, especially creatively, producer, agent wise, and management wise. And you got one of the best here and you let her go. So I think somebody needs to pick her up because I think she could be an asset. I'm hoping that we hear a story about her working behind the scenes in either AEW or WWE in the future, because then that would make her firing almost a positive. So she's going to a better place. But just letting her go is pretty insane. Gail Kim is awesome. So all the best to the lovely and beautiful Gail Kim. Have you guys seen so Maven has turned into full-blown Chris Hansen here. Maven's YouTube channel is a trip. I don't know. Most people have seen Maven's YouTube channel. I've watched a few videos. He's pretty funny to listen to, and he is pretty open about his life, about his career. And now he's getting into the habit of confronting wrestlers who have been scamming people. Now, Justin Credible, who is grown up just to be a complete fucking loser, falling on hard times, but a lot of it is his own doing, behavior, drugs, that type of thing. And apparently he's been scamming fans, taking merchandise money and then not sending things out. He's had a couple of expose videos on YouTube about him. And Maven apparently saw these videos and decided to make his own video showing up and confronting Justin Credible in person and having a little interview with him where Credible was basically forced to admit what he had done and kind of admitted that he's fallen on hard times. I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed. I feel bad. I'm trying to work something out to get everybody the merchandise that they wanted. I don't know why anybody would give Justin Credible money to begin with. So who the fuck would want a Justin Credible shirt? So it is a $19.99. What's going on? So it was just a funny video. I mean, obviously I feel bad for Justin Credible, but when you go to his social media and you see the people who he follows, I don't feel that bad for him. But he is scamming. He's just being shitty, and he was confronted. At least he owned up to it. At least he didn't try to make excuses. He, kind of tried to a little bit, but you could clearly see that the guy's going through it. He's going through some tough times. So, hopefully he can just, clean his life up and just stop scamming people. That would be nice. But I thought it was more funny than anything else that Maven's now, don't fuck up, don't be scamming no people. Maven might show up at your house. So just showing up and doing a video on that was kind of comical, I guess. But Maven is a trip. He's got a very entertaining YouTube channel. I like Maven's. I don't really like Stevie Richards. It's too pontificating. But I do like Maven's. He's a trip. Like I said earlier, Dark Side of the Ring Season 6 kicked off this week, and the first episode was the Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Mankind at King of the Ring in 1998. I wasn't too much interested in this one because, Jesus, man, how many times can we tell that story? Even Mick Foley himself is just sick of hearing about it. But it wasn't that bad. It focused a lot on how this affected Mick Foley's family. It was basically like another version of Beyond the Mat, because now Dewey and Noel, they're all grown up. And Colette, his wife, was talking about them being at home, watching all these things happen to Mick in the Hell in a Cell match, and calling management and, and yelling at them and yelling at Mick Foley for, scaring the shit out of her. And, hey, you didn't tell me you were going to fall through the cage. You didn't tell me you were going to do that and all that stuff. So, how it affected the family. And they talked a lot about the Royal Rumble as well with the match with The Rock. They didn't really bring up the Beyond the Mat stuff, but of course that was all covered in the documentary between The Rock and Mankind, how Mankind got hit so many times in the head with the chair. So overall, the episode was good, but I kind of wanted to get that one out of the way. The next one up is Ludwig Borga, which will be interesting next week. So we'll talk about that next week on the podcast. That is kind of all I have written down for a lot of our news and stuff. We're going to get into a little bit of last Monday's Raw here in just a second. But before we do that, let me cruise over to the chat because my peripherals see things happening. And if I can get down to the bottom here, let me catch up a couple of super chats. I want to thank Mark. I don't know if that's Mark Marrow. I don't think so. I think it's regular Mark. What's up, man? Hey, Greg, how are you holding up? Do you think Punk's favor could be that if he wins, he's added to the Night 2 main event? All the best to you, my friend. Thank you so much for that $10, Mark. We're going to be talking about that later. That is one of the possibilities. That favor has got to be something. You can't close out a SmackDown during WrestleMania season with a cliffhanger like that and not have that be significant to WrestleMania. This can't be a favor for SummerSlam. This is going to have to be a favor tying in the near future. And a lot of people are throwing out that Night 2 main event. I'm not against it, but man, if they do that, what's the point of Cena even turning heel at this point? I don't, unless Punk's coming in there to help protect Cody. and then Cena wins the title and Cody stays protected, can almost blame Punk, and then you get a Cody and Punk feud while Cena takes the title. I don't know. But we are going to talk about what the favor could be here in just a little bit. Thank you, Calcoon1712. I forgot to mention that when talking about the Bret Hart and Steve Austin match going into the Hall of Fame at this year's WrestleMania. Ken Shamrock would be the perfect person to do that induction since he was the special guest referee. And a lot of people believe that Ken Shamrock should be going into the Hall of Fame himself. So maybe, know what would be cool? Know what would be cool is if Ken Shamrock, they called him to induct Bret Hart and Steve Austin's match into the Hall of Fame. Shamrock goes up there to present the plaques to Bret and Austin. They come up, they shake hands. Shamrock gives him the plaques, and then Bret says, "Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity before me and Austin get into our match here to just inform Ken Shamrock that you're going to be the first inductee into the 2026 WWE Hall of Fame." And like Bret announces it right there in his induction that Shamrock's going in next year. Might be nice. Something like that would be cool. But yes, good point there. I forgot to bring up good old Kenny, who definitely should be doing the induction for Bret and Austin. Big, massive, humongous thank you to Ryan Adams running away with the Super Chat Championship this year. Like I said, at the end of the year, bro, I'm going to need your address. Dropping in a very generous $100 drop. Thank you so much for that, Ryan. Surprised WWE is charging so much when you're in one of the smallest NFL stadiums, but on the other side, AEW was here in my hometown last Wednesday, and there was no promotion or hyping up the show except for a little radio interview from Top Flight. They need to fix that. Yeah. I mean, promotion for your live events, especially your TVs in your local towns, has always been a really, really big deal. AEW's not really struggled in that department, but it sounds like they did not do a very good job of hyping up that show. Very, very tiny building on Wednesday. I said on Twitter, the distance between the entrance and the ring is the same distance from where I'm sitting right now and my bathroom. That's how short the entrance was on Dynamite. Really, really small building. I like small buildings, but that might have been even a little bit too small for me. But yeah, no hyping up the show. That's kind of lame. And MJF threw out the first pitch at the Ranger game. I think on Thursday. There was no mention of that at all on Dynamite, at least from what I saw during that MVP and MJF segment. And I don't even think the announcers brought it up. Why would you not mention that? I mean, unless they show a replay this one, they probably mention it this Wednesday, but why wouldn't they not at least bring that up? Or why wouldn't MJF say it in his promo when Bobby Lashley, put his fist up to his face? Hey, ease off, man. I got to throw out the first pitch of the Rangers game tomorrow. Easy, Big Bobby. Something like that, but he didn't do anything. What the fuck's that about? But yeah, WWE, Allegiant Stadium, I didn't realize it was one of NFL's smallest stadiums. I guess that it is. I was there for SummerSlam. And yeah, I guess it's not overly large, but even more, if it's a smaller stadium, it should be even easier to do a sellout for that. And the fact that seems like they're voluntarily not doing it is crazy. They'd rather charge insane prices and gouge the hell out of their fans than offer as many fans as possible the opportunity to go. Tells you all you need to know about that company. That's why I'm not shedding any tears over not giving them a ton of money this year. But thank you again for that, Ryan, as always. The new one's got 5 for us. Thanks, man. What's up, Greg? That's how I feel my very Mania. That's how I feel my very Mania last year, 40. If that's my one and only Mania, I'll die happy, man. Yeah, hey, at least you were at a good one. At least you were at one of the best. You saw one of the best main events ever. And you were at a nice, milestone WrestleMania 40. I had to do 39. I guess 15 is kind of it's not a round number, but it's a nice kind of milestone number, I guess. But 40 would be way better. And if that's your only one, hey, at least you went to a good one. 5 more from Ryan. Mariah going from a former WWE shop t-shirt model to potentially getting some big money from either company. I did not know Mariah May was a former t-shirt model for WWE. I know she went to WrestleMania 38. I know that. There was a picture of her. Because a lot of fans are really hoping she's going to leave the bad faith haters. And she could leave AEW for WWE. I don't think she will, but she could. And it's kind of funny to see how many people are really hoping that she does. AEW lost another one. I'm like, my God, go the fuck outside, please. The sun is out. Anyway, let's see. And miss any other ones before we jump into some stuff. New one, WWE is going to want to bring Toni Storm back with that gimmick. I don't know. I don't think Toni Storm's going to go back. She literally walked out of that company. and she's been treated marvelously by AEW. She's been main eventing a lot of their shows. It's nice to see that AEW seems to understand the level of star that she is. Like, don't fumble her, man. She's the top star in the company. I believe she is, at least right now. I mean, she's doing great, so they're featuring her, and they need to make sure that they continue understanding that, because the fans love Tony, and I loved what they did with her on Wednesday night. We're going to be talking about that in a minute, but before we do, we're going to talk a little WWE, and we were not here on Monday because I had a busy day, man. I actually had to go in to work. It was just a rough one for me last Monday, so I kind of missed all of Raw. I didn't get to see Raw until middle of the week, but just to give you a general idea what happened on Raw this past week, we had another segment between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And John Cena got on the mic, and, this was a little bit better in his promo, but it is weird why we're still not hearing anything about The Rock. And I can only assume it's because they're overseas, and I'm hoping Rock is still going to get back into the fold here for the final couple of weeks, the home stretch leading up to WrestleMania, but we still haven't heard anything about The Rock. Cena has not brought him up at all. And he still has not given a very good reason for why he aligned himself with The Rock and turned on Cody. His feud seems more with the fans than it does with Cody Rhodes. And one of the things he said, which I thought was interesting in his promo, he said that he's going to win the title and he's going to retire with it and take it away. He's going to take it away from you, and you're going to have to create a new toy. He even brought up the spinner belt. That piece of shit. That eyesore on the business, that hemorrhoid on the business, that damn spinner belt, which is the worst thing that's ever happened to the business. It's like Chris Benoit, then spinner belt. It's that bad. And Cena mentioned that, and I was like, oh man, he has to bring it back. If he wins the championship, like, as much as I hate that spinner belt, I want to see it if he brings it back. Because oh my God, what a heel move. Imagine if you got the AEW world title in a fucking briefcase and you got Cena with the WWE spinner belt. What's happening to the business? And if he did that, I think I would be equal parts furious and elated. I don't think I'd be able to balance that. I'm pissed, I'm happy, I'm pissed, I'm happy. So I think if Cena wins, he should bring back the spinner belt. Absolutely. And Cody then comes out to the ring. They have a back and forth. It was pretty good. And Cody, I like that Cody is just not backing down from Cena. Grabs the belt, lays it down. He goes, if you said you want to take this from me, take it right now. And Cena walks away like a pussy, which I liked. I like Cena kind of walking away. So the promo was fine. The interaction was fine, but it still feels like the heat is not turned up nearly enough for this. And I'm hoping I'm wrong about this, but it feels like they might have turned John Cena heel without a concrete plan in place, which is exactly how WWE always does things. But I would like to think with a situation as important and as huge as Cena turning heel and his final year, so much is on the line, him possibly, fucking up his whole legacy here. So much is on the line. This heel turn has to be a success. Otherwise, I think it's really going to affect how you remember John Cena and his career. So it's important that this works. And it feels like so far it has not been hitting. Some fans have been disappointed with the progression of it because so far Cena's not really given us a real good answer to why he did what he did, other than, you guys used to boo me, now I'm mad about it. We know that. And he hasn't mentioned anything about The Rock. So I'm hoping that when they get back to the States, the Go Home Raw, the Go Home SmackDown, all that stuff's going to have everybody involved. Brock will be there. I'm sure in the main event, we're going to see Travis Scott in there to get his receipt that's coming. I'm sure all that is probably going to still happen. But, so far, it's like, man, I was really hoping this would be a hell of a lot better than it was, because I already wasn't that interested in a Cody and Cena main event until Cena turned heel. And then that changed everything, because how can this not be good? And so far, it's only been mediocre at best. And that's scary. That is scary. That this is not hitting the way it should, because John Cena doing this, turning heel after 20 years in his final year in the business, unless this turns out to be the ultimate troll job and he's not retiring at all, this is going to be his final year, and I really don't want it to be one that's, not remembered well. And I feel like him not winning the championship would make the entire heel turn pointless. Like, the whole point of this is him winning that championship for the 17th time. And I suppose he could lose here and then win Money in the Bank and then win it in a cheap way. But, winning it at WrestleMania and carrying it for a while as a heel, I feel like needs to be the direction. But based on what we've seen, at least so far from the build, now, I'm going to give it some time. We got a couple more. Wait till how the go-home show goes. Maybe I'll feel differently. But right now, where we sit, if this match remains Cena and Cody, nothing else, no third person added, nothing like that, I'd be all right with Cody retaining over Cena if things don't change. But if that were to happen and Cody just straight beats Cena, then what do we do this for? What does Cena do now? Is he back to a babyface already? Without even, and then he wins the title for the 17th time as a babyface. Maybe he goes and says, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have turned heel. He's back to a babyface, and then he wins. I don't see it going that way. So I still feel like Cena's got to win the title here at WrestleMania, and maybe there will be something added to this match. Now, we're going to be talking about Punk and Rollins and Roman in a minute, but one idea that's been floated around by a lot of fans is that this favor that Punk is owed, maybe it has something to do with him being added to the match, or maybe the winner of the triple threat is added to the night 2 main event, making that a triple threat, which is just multi-man matches everywhere. So the one issue I have with having Punk being added to the match is that now you've got another triple threat. Is that what we want to do? And if they do that, then it feels like that almost takes the focus a little bit off of John Cena, and it makes his heel turn kind of pointless now. Not if you had to turn John Cena heel and then you have to add CM Punk to this match to make it interesting, then what was the point of turning John Cena heel then? The only way I think this could work is if, Punk got added to the match and then him and Cody somehow had an incident or issue between them that caused John Cena to steal the win. Now Cody has lost his title, maybe without being pinned. Cena pins Punk, and now Cena's the champion. Something like that could happen. But we're going to be talking about the favor and what they could do in just a minute. The Usos, Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, a.k.a. not Joe Hendry, defeated A-Town Down. A lot of fans were convinced because it was in Scotland that Joe Hendry would be his tag team partner, but Jimmy Uso made way more sense because they are a former tag team. And after seeing them on TV together, I just want to reunite the Usos and have them go after the tags. That's what I feel like the best direction for both of those guys is, at least at the moment, as now it is official that neither Royal Rumble winner will be main eventing WrestleMania. That's got to be a first, right? So the Usos defeated A-Town Down. And, Joe Hendry, him being here and being the mystery partner might have been good for a different time of the year, but there's no way WWE was going to bring out a TNA star. TNA stars, by the way, are not superstars. They're just TNA stars. So they're not going to bring a TNA star out to have a tag team match with a WWE superstar during WrestleMania season. It's not going to happen. So it was not Joe Hendry. We said his name, and he did not appear. Lyra Valkyria retained her Intercontinental Championship. She defeated Raquel Rodriguez. At least I believe that's an IC title match, right? And then we had the big segment in the ring with Rhea in the red, my God, with Io Sky and Bianca Belair. Adam Pearce, of course, is stuck right in the middle of this. That's the story they're telling, because I've said for weeks that if this is going to be a triple threat, it's going to happen by Pearce just losing his mind. But I also said a match needs to happen. So what I thought they were going to do is what I pitched was booking for this Monday Rhea and Bianca, with the stipulation that if Rhea wins, she's added to the match. But what they're doing instead is doing a title match between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, with Bianca Belair as the special guest referee. So you can already tell what's going to happen here. There's going to be something. Bianca's going to be getting into it with both women. She's not going to be impartial. It's going to be some clusterfuck. You might even get a finish and a winner out of this, but whatever's going to happen is going to piss off Adam Pearce, and then he's going to say, that's it. You ladies want each other so bad, and you can't be an impartial referee, and Io Sky, you can't keep your hand off the referee. If you want to fight both of these women, then fine, you got it. Now you're defending your title against both in a triple threat. That's probably what's going to happen on Monday night. So that's fine. It's predictable, but that's fine. But in this segment, with the women, that's just where Pearce announced the championship match for this week. So we had that going on. We also had the Braun Breaker versus Penta Intercontinental Championship match. I believe that was in the main event, right? And this ends, of course, in a DQ when the Judgment Day jumps in, Carlito and Dominic. And it looks like what the plan is going to be Braun Breaker defending against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic in a four-way at WrestleMania. That's what kind of the word on the street here is now. And based on what they're doing on SmackDown with the United States title, they're probably heading for a similar situation. So wouldn't that be strange and kind of lazy booking if we had two triple threat main events on both nights, two four-ways for the IC in the US? We got a triple threat for the women's championship. Luckily, Charlotte and Tiffany, at least for right now, is still one-on-one. And Cody and Cena, at least for right now, is still one-on-one. We also have Priest and Drew McIntyre set, and what the fuck else is happening? AJ Styles and Logan Paul probably. So we're going to get some one-on-one matches, but man, looks like there's going to be a lot of multi-man deals at WrestleMania this year, and I don't know how I feel about that yet. So far, not very good. It's up to WWE to change my mind on that. We also, on Monday's Raw, got the big... Some fans are claiming it's an AI vignette, produced vignette of El Grande Americana. So we got this video package of Chad Gable in this new get up. And this is funny. This is like a luchador Mr. America. He's Senor America. But he's going to be El Grande Americana. And he's got a whole video package. And I think one thing that got the fans upset is when, the video package is airing and it shows a world map and a map of the U.S. and Mexico, and it has Gulf of America right there. And so, it got fans, a little bit upset, and some people are, maybe offended and whatnot. I think the whole video package was quite funny. If this would have been several years ago, this would have been funny. I still think it's funny. I think what the fans are upset about is that it's the Gulf of America stuff. And I think to joke about that insanity kind of normalizes it. And we've got enough of those problems in the country where, really, really insane behavior. We're seeing what's happening, with the government right now. Insane things that is constantly getting normalized. We had a humongous, epic security breach just last week that Fox News will describe as accidentally texting the wrong person. So it's just... I'm not offended by El Grande Americana. I'm not offended by the video package. I'm not even offended by the Gulf of America. I think they're just making a joke about it, and that's fine. I'm fine with jokes. But jokes like that normalize this insanity. That these weak, pathetic pieces of shit that are running this country are so weak and so caught up in this ridiculous, pointless national pride that they're now trying to rename bodies of water and shit like that to say America in it because they're toothless fucking cousin fucking hillbillies. And I just think that that's gross. But I am not in the camp of fans that are offended by the vignette. I laughed at the vignette. I thought it was funny. I'm not a snowflake. None of this is bad, but I do understand why, fans might get a little bit irritated by that because it's absolutely crazy. Like what's happening right now. I had a big international rowing team in my restaurant last night. I saw like Olympic gold medals in person. And, I was kind of overhearing them talking, and they were just talking mad shit about like what a laughing stock we are and stuff. So when you put something like that, in a video package, it normalizes, I think, the insane stupidity that this country is currently undergoing. And that's why complete dumbasses win elections here. It's because of stuff like this. So I'm not offended. I think the fans who are offended need to cool it and chill out. But I do think that what really triggered that wasn't Chad Gable wearing a lucha mask, pretending to be a Mexican luchador. That wasn't the offensive part. I think it was the Gulf of America and that type of thing that just kind of maybe triggered a little spark of outrage in people. That's all. But in terms of how the video package and the vignette was presented, I kind of got a chuckle out of it. And I like the absurdity of it. That obviously, yes, it's Chad Gable, but hopefully this isn't going to be like a Shorty G type of thing. I want this to be good. I don't want it to be too much of just a joke. Gable, I thought this motivation was because of what happened between him and Penta or something. And so he wants to go, study Lucha Libre wrestling. But now it just seems like it's turned into a comedy bit. And Gable, I think, is too good to do comedy. He's comedic like Kurt Angle was, but that I don't want that to be his entire ordeal. So it's basically like a Lucha Libre version of Mr. America. So far, I'm fine with it. But but we'll see where it goes, and we'll see if it winds up leading to, another match with Penta, or maybe even Rey Fenix, who's on his way in, but he'll be over on SmackDown. And like I said, this Monday's Raw, don't forget, airs at 3 Eastern, noon for me here on the West Coast, and the big match headlining Raw is the championship match, Io Sky defending against Rhea Ripley with Bianca Belair as the special guest referee. I will likely schedule Monday's Raw review for 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Just put that time in your head. That's likely what time we're going to come up and do this. Maybe an hour earlier. I just have to look at everything, and I'll have a link posted for you in the next day or so. So just keep a lookout for that. All right, let's move on to last night's SmackDown in London, where Raw will be this Monday night. A couple of things to mention before we get into the results here. Number one, WWE has a new ring announcer that started last night. His name is Mark Nash. Apparently, that's not his real name. That's his WWE name, so he's not Kevin's brother or Steve's brother. Mark Nash, he's the new ring announcer. He sounded okay, sounded fine. I kind of didn't notice him, to be honest. And that's a good and a bad thing. But apparently he came highly recommended from somewhere in the sports world. He started last night, did well. And, of course, we all knew Lillian Garcia. She did an interview. I think it was with Chris, right? And she was talking about leaving SmackDown. And even when she got called back to be the announcer when Samantha Irvin left, she was told right then and there that this was not going to be a permanent deal, just for the time being until they can find someone new. They have their man now, and now Lillian Garcia, of course, is still going to stick around and announce all of the Saturday night's main events, which I think is perfect because she would be such a nice change for those shows every year, and she's perfect for it. So I think that's a good move. So far, from the little bit I was paying attention to of Mark Nash, he sounds fine. Also, we got a couple of vignettes last night. We had what's got to be Aleister Black. I mean, at this point, I'm considering this confirmation that Aleister Black is coming back to WWE because we got a silhouette. That's him. We also got a voice, "You will be," or something like that. If it's not Aleister Black, who the hell could that be? Who would be in a gimmick like that? Because if this is not Aleister Black and Aleister Black is coming in, you got a lot of these dark type of gimmicks. So that's Aleister. It's 100% Aleister Black. I'm convinced. We didn't get any new information there in terms of a debut, but we did get new information on the other teaser for Rey Fenix. They've been not very subtle about that. Even the very first one, it was a silhouette of him sitting on like a top turnbuckle, and you could tell it was him, the mask. Then the next one has got some body shots with a tattoo. And now, last night, the vignette has his name and everything. It's his whole fucking face and name, Rey Fenix, debuting next week on SmackDown in Chicago. So Rey Fenix will be in the ring on SmackDown, debuting. I think that's awesome that Rey and Penta are going to be on separate shows. They are mentioning, I think the announcers did say that, he's Penta's brother, but I'm hoping they keep Pentagon and Phoenix a little bit separate for a while until, there's a reason for them to come together in some form. We will see. I don't think Phoenix is going to be there in enough time to get into a WrestleMania match. I don't know if Phoenix is debuting in Chicago. I don't know what he's going to do at Mania. I doubt he's going to have a one-on-one match with anybody at WrestleMania unless... Well, Rey Mysterio is on Raw, unless they want to do something with Penta, but I think Penta's going to be involved in the IC. I can't see Rey Fenix getting involved in the U.S. title match or anything like that. So I don't know, but Phoenix is going to be debuting before WrestleMania, which will be interesting to see what he does at the show, if anything at all. Cody Rhodes last night opened up the show. And he was interrupted by Randy Orton, and we got a fun little interaction in the ring between Cody and Randy Orton. And Randy Orton pays ultimate respect to Cody for how he left the WWE and said single-handedly changed the business. Cody definitely had a hand in changing the industry here in modern times. And he is, done a great job. He is the biggest star in the company right now, and he has done a great job. And as Randy is putting him over, Cody is becoming more and more emotional about it, which Cody tends to do. And Randy Orton did say, that eventually, unlike John Cena, who stabbed you in the back to go after number 17, I'm eventually going to go after number 15. And I'll do it to your face, and I'll say it to your face when the time comes. So I do like that little tease that Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes could be heading for a showdown. Now, this could just be Orton kind of planting the seeds for what some of us are already speculating about, him getting the championship match title shot at Backlash. Because if John Cena wins, I think a lot of fans want John Cena and Randy Orton to wrestle at Backlash. I think that would be great. I really want John Cena and CM Punk to wrestle at Money in the Bank. And help me out. It's Money in the Bank in Chicago again? I forgot. Or it could be. I don't even remember. Is it? Because if it is, there's only one match you can do. You know what I mean? So Orton basically teases that one day, him and Cody probably will be having a program. If not, he'll be having one with Cena for sure. And then Drew McIntyre comes out to the crowd, talks mad shit, talks about Damian Priest, calling him Timu Undertaker. And then Cody winds up nailing him. Randy goes for an RKO on Drew, but he escapes, and Drew gets out of dodge, and he's going to be taking on Randy Orton later in the night. So you fast forward to that. It's Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Kevin Owens shows up in the aisleway to distract Randy Orton, allowing Drew McIntyre to nail him with a Claymore and win the match. McIntyre, big win over Randy Orton. Later on in the back, Drew is kind of celebrating backstage with some singer. I don't know who that guy was. Some singer and songwriter, some celebrity. And they're going to be going out on the town, and he's all happy to be going out celebrating. And as soon as he exits the back door, Damian Priest is standing right there waiting for him, beats the hell out of Drew McIntyre. They start brawling over near a car like a convertible, and Priest picks up McIntyre and south of heaven choke slams him through the windshield of the car, which I believe was real glass. And what was awesome about this is that right after that attack, you see CM Punk entering the building to head to the contract signing, and he walks right by McIntyre, who's laying on the glass, and he just kind of gives it a little nod. So, I mean, it's subtle. I don't know if that's necessarily an AEW reference, but having Punk walk by that, there's something there. And of course, Punk last week dropped the I work with children line. They got crickets. So it doesn't sound like the fans really need to hear him reference AEW. Some fans are mad about, we should stop referencing AEW. Who cares? Who cares? Don't worry about it. But I also think that, some of these little teases aren't really landing, but I did like that little look that Punk gave to Drew, because of course they've had their wars. So it's not like Punk is concerned about the well-being of McIntyre, but seeing a car windshield there and Punk walking by it, I don't know. It's subtle, but it's cool. Also, we had, before we get into the contract signing, we had a very, very good Naomi video package. That was good stuff. That was great. Later on in the night, she would be attacking B-Fab and beating her up. Charlotte beat Michin with a figure 8 submission for the win there. The Street Profits successfully defended their tag team titles last night over Pretty Deadly. And Strowman got his U.S. Championship match against LA Knight, but it ended in a no contest when Jacob Fatu attacked. And this kind of upset Solo and Tama, because he went out there by himself, and Jacob basically told both of them to fuck off. So there's not much really holding the bloodline together here. And now with Strowman's championship match kind of getting screwed up, it feels like we're looking at another multi-man. So it's probably going to be Strowman and Knight and Jacob Fatu and maybe Solo Sikoa, I guess. I feel like the bloodline probably just needs to disband at this point, and Jacob, after WrestleMania, needs to either go solo or form his own stable with a Bronson Reed and an incoming Jeff Cobb or something like that. Otherwise, Jacob is a breakout star trying to break out. Solo and Tama are doing nothing but holding him back. So hopefully that starts happening sooner rather than later. But based on the finish of that match last night, feels like we're heading towards another multi-man deal for another championship at WrestleMania. We also had Jimmy Uso defeating The Miz last night. And of course, the main event segment was the big contract signing between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. Roman is out to the ring first, sitting right at his spot at the head of the table with Paul Heyman. Out comes Seth Rollins, and the two of them have a back and forth, and Seth is still very, very mad that Roman stood with CM Punk. We had a chance to rid this company forever of him, and you chose to stand with him. But, that shouldn't even matter. Their issue is still very, very deep and personal from last year. Punk should have no nothing to do with their issue. Like, Rollins should be plenty mad at Roman and vice versa without Punk even being in the middle of this, which is why I thought Roman and Seth would be just fine to be one-on-one. But then CM Punk comes out. He says he's here to chew bubblegum and sign contracts, and he's all out of bubblegum. And he sits down at the table, and this was actually pretty funny. And he's going through the contract. He's just reading it. And this was some of the best work, like, seriously, that Roman Reigns has done on the mic in quite a long time. He was absolutely delightful sitting in that chair. The way he's talking to CM Punk is he's reading through the contract, and he goes, "Do you need a highlighter?" He goes, "Come on, buddy." He calls him buddy. "Come on, buddy. Today, Junior." He busts out the "Today, Junior" line, all that stuff. And he says something like, "What you want? You're looking for page 5, clause 45, or whatever the fuck." He's telling Punk, "I know what you're looking for. I know what you're looking for." Punk's looking for it. And then he says, "Wise man, go control your boy," or whatever. And so Heyman goes and sits down next to CM Punk, and he puts his arm around CM Punk, puts his hand on his head, and he says, "I know what you're looking for, and it's in there. You are closing the show on night 1. You, CM Punk, are a WrestleMania main eventer." And Punk gets visibly emotional until Roman Reigns chimes in with "One man's dream is another man's paycheck," or whatever he said, which is hilarious. And he basically, says that Punk can thank him. He's the reason he's in the main event because I'm here. I'm always in the main event. This is like, what, the 10th or 11th WrestleMania main event for Roman Reigns. He's surpassed Hulk Hogan a year or two ago, and it's yet another main event for Roman Reigns. And Seth is livid at this point. Once this announcement was made, he's losing his damn mind, and he does not think that Punk is worthy, calls him unworthy, and that this is bullshit, and he's storming and ranting and raving all over the place. And that's when Roman Reigns, told Punk that he should be thanking him. And so Punk does. He goes right up to Roman, he gets down on one knee, and he goes, "Thank you." And he just starts thanking Roman Reigns sarcastically. And Roman starts believing it at first. He's like, "Oh, yeah," he's soaking in the acknowledgement. And then when Punk starts being all sarcastic, he kind of changes his tune. And then Punk takes the contract and he signs the contract and he goes, "Thank you," signs his name. "But that's not the favor I'm owed." And that's it. And so that's quite the cliffhanger there. That's not the favor I'm owed. And I'm happy that that's not the favor he's owed, because I wouldn't want, basically, it felt like Punk's whole goal was to main event WrestleMania. So therefore, Punk merely showing up for a contract signing finishes his story. Does that sound like, look at Cody. Cody fell short in his first attempt. His finishing his story was a long road to get there. Punk just has always said he just wants to main event a WrestleMania. Recently, he said that's not that important to him, but it seemed important to him last night when he was visibly overcome with emotion when Heyman told him that he's going to be main eventing night 1 of WrestleMania, or main eventing. I'm not even sure. Did he say night 1? I'm not even sure if they've said which nights are going to be which match, but I think it's pretty clear Cody and Cena will be night 2. So Punk gets emotional, but if it was if Punk used a favor to shoehorn or worm his way into a main event or take a main event opportunity away from somebody else due to a favor, that would make him look like an asshole. So throughout the course of the contract signing, when Heyman, when Roman is like, "I know what you're looking for," and Heyman says, "It's in there." It sounded like they were making it sound like that's the favor, him getting a WrestleMania main event. But then to throw that last little bit at us at the end saying that's not the favor I'm owed, which is good. I'm glad they're doing it that way, because this makes it seem like this match should be the main event, because I think it's a bigger match than Gunther and Jay. Sorry, I just feel like it is. So it should be the main event. It's a bigger match than Rhea, Io, and Bianca. It is. You can make a case for those women being the main event, but there just hasn't been enough build between them, I don't think. And same goes for Tiffany and Charlotte. So I'm all for women main eventing WrestleMania, but this year, sorry, it just ain't in the cards for y'all. Just like it's not in the cards for Jay and Gunther. Nothing I can do about that, so don't complain to me. But I do feel like this being the main event is good, provided there's one extra little piece of info here, because right now, nothing is on the line. They signed the contract, so all parties should have read the contracts, which means if there's some sort of stipulation in there about the winner getting a title shot, nobody's aware of it, at least right now. So what will the favor be? For Punk to say that means that this favor is still going to play a role in something for WrestleMania, possibly even at WrestleMania. We have a few weeks left, so it's possible this favor could still be something else. The favor could be, hey, I got a clause added where the winner of this either, number one, like some people are mentioning, gets added to John Cena and Cody Rhodes, which would be weird. I don't know how Paul Heyman would be able to negotiate something like that on his own. Or maybe the favor is for a title shot after WrestleMania. One place you could do a title shot is on the next Monday's Raw. You could what if Cody Rhodes retains over Cena, but he does so and he kind of gets injured in the process. So the next night on Raw, he's got to defend against CM Punk, and he's not 100%. And Punk beats him. Maybe with help from John Cena, who comes out in the match and gets involved, and maybe not helping CM Punk win, but getting involved and contributing to Cody losing the championship on Raw to CM Punk. Now, Punk is the champion, and he can defend against John Cena at Money in the Bank, and the roles can be reversed. John Cena can try to take the belt from CM Punk at Money in the Bank and leave with it, just like Punk tried to do to him back in 2011. Something like that could work. Or maybe the favor is something more simple. Like, hey, Heyman, at WrestleMania, you're in my corner. It could just be a corner, man. But would that really be a worthy enough favor? You're just in my corner? Heyman's already going to be divided. He's already going to be like Miss Elizabeth at WrestleMania 5. So Heyman already is going to have his loyalties kind of split here, which Roman seems to be okay with. Roman was sitting right there when Heyman had his arms around Punk. So Roman understands that there's a relationship there. He seems okay with it, even though he hates CM Punk. So I don't know how all that's working out. So maybe Punk is just going to say, Heyman, you are in my corner. Or something is on the line. Because right now, the winner of this match just wins the match. And they get, I guess, the winner's money. But Punk's never been one that's fought for money before. So there's got to be something else. And I feel like you need to tie in something else, like a title shot of some kind. Now, I've talked about Triple H before in his booking philosophy. I've mentioned that he does play it a little bit conservative. And I thought I was wrong about that when John Cena turned heel. I'm like, man, that took balls. So once that happened, I'm a little bit more open now to Triple H maybe getting a little bit crazy. But, adding somebody to your night 2 main event and making that announcement on night 1 and jumbling up your card like that just doesn't feel much like Triple H's style. Plus, if that was the stipulation or the favor where the winner of this match gets added to Cody and Cena, now you've added Punk in there, taking a lot of that focus away from John Cena and his heel turn. So I right now am not thinking it's going to be that. I think if you added CM Punk to the night 2 main event, that kind of overcomplicates it because you're already going to have The Rock out there. I feel like you're going to have some other things out there too. Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be in town for this. So last year, we didn't get to see The Rock eat a stunner. We might this year. I'd like to see The Rock eat. Oh my God. Imagine if in the main event, it's kind of like last year how we had a lot going on. Undertaker came out and everything, and Cena. But what if this year, instead of Undertaker and Cena, it's Bret Hart and Steve Austin? And Steve Austin comes out and stuns The Rock, and Bret Hart puts Travis Scott in the sharpshooter on the outside of the ring with him just screaming, like a fucking maniac. And Bret has got the sharpshooter cinched up. Austin is stunning The Rock, and Cody is pinning John Cena right in the middle of the ring. Something like that could be totally fun if they did that. But from where we sit right now, I feel like John Cena's got to win the championship. So if you want to really, really protect Cody, then you can add CM Punk. Cena can pin Punk, and then Cody and Punk can have some animosity now because Punk's addition to the match kind of screwed Cody over, and now they have an issue. We've seen Cody and Punk interact on TV. The fans want that. The fans want that match. We could get Cody and Punk at SummerSlam this year or something like that. I don't know. But that favor, in my mind, is going to have to either be Heyman being the corner man or some sort of a championship match in the future. It could be something in the immediate future, but not right away. Like I mentioned Money in the Bank. Maybe the favor is CM Punk gets a title shot at Money in the Bank. And if John Cena is champion, that would be great for those two to hook back up this year at Money in the Bank and basically do the same thing. Oh, that's right. Money in the Bank is in LA. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I didn't know the venue of it. Okay, so it's not in Chicago, which sucks. Money in the Bank is in LA. It is? Like at Crypto? Do I have to go to Money in the Bank? Oh, interesting. Cool. I need to look that up. So something for Money in the Bank could be cool. I mean, John Cena and Punk at Money in the Bank. I think doing that match would hit better if Money in the Bank was in Chicago. You know, if it was in the same venue. Or maybe there's another show coming up in Chicago that you can do Punk and Cena on, maybe in the summertime. I don't know. That would be super fun. So we will see what the favor can be. But right now, I'm kind of opting to not want it to be added to the Night 2 main event. Because now you've got 2 triple threats. It just feels like a little bit too over-complicated to me, you know? But feel free to hit me with your ideas and pitches in the chat. Before we get into our next order of business, I want to make sure I've got the supers. I do want to answer this $10 drop from JBoba28. Thank you for that. WWE TKO price gouging will end up backfiring when business isn't flourishing anymore. WWE feels like a cult with the live audience accepting everything creative gives to them. Well, some of the audience does, not all of them. But I see what you're saying. You know, when you have the diehards of, you know, the diehards and the tribals, you know, there's AEW fans on the other side that kind of think everything they do is perfect, and there's WWE fans that think everything they do is perfect, and those fans are stupid. So neither company is perfect, and most normal people know that. But we've talked about WWE's inevitable decline. I mean, I've been watching wrestling for 40 years. I can tell you, every single hot period or boom period cools off. Every single one, with no exceptions. This will not be an exception. This hot period will cool off too. WWE will not be on top forever in this way. They're going to be the number one probably forever, but their product will cool off. Fans will start getting bored, frustrated, agitated with the creative. It's already happening. And I've said this for months. I was like, when the inevitable decline hits for WWE, it's important for AEW to have their shit together to where they can try to pounce on this, you know, attitude from the fans where they're starting to get a little bit tired of what they're seeing from WWE, and make sure that you can offer something attractive to those viewers who are losing interest in that. And that just kind of keeps the business healthy, keeps pushing both companies to excel, you know, because now we're going to see how WWE fares in a downtime when they got AEW over there, because we saw 2020, 2021, how terrible WWE was, and AEW was flat out a better show. It was. It was for about a year there. And it was short-lived, but it was. And WWE, once they got Cody and everything kind of changed for them, Vince is gone, things have changed for the better, the much better. And WWE is far easier of a promotion to watch now than it was before, but that is not going to last forever. And they will have a decline, and it's going to be interesting to see how they manage a business decline in the middle of 4-night extravaganzas, and they're going all over the world, crazy ticket prices. SummerSlam's now going to 2 nights. WrestleMania's 2 nights. And they're going to have all of these crazy double night events in stadium shows with insane prices, trying to sell these to fans who are watching a product that sucks. It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out when that happens, and it will. But I would like to congratulate CM Punk on main eventing night 1 of an extremely overpriced extravaganza. That is crazy how that works after that promo on Dynamite, and now Punk is doing exactly what he told Max he wouldn't like seeing. Whatever. All right, let's talk about Dynamite this week. Interesting Dynamite, I thought. Not a crazy great show, but some interesting stuff on there. First of all, we'd like to offer congratulations to Ricochet and Samantha Irving, who got married, I guess, on Wednesday. Ricochet appeared on a on the Tron during the Speedball Mike Bailey and Kenny Omega promo to say that he was getting married and he's not there. And then we did see some photos and videos on social media of the two of them. I believe they got married somewhere in Vegas. And congrats, because we did know they were engaged, and happy for both of them. I think Ricochet is doing great stuff in AEW. I think it was a good move for him to go there. And we may wind up seeing Samantha Irvin there one day as well. Also, shout out to Von Wagner, who was spotted on Wednesday as a security guard for AEW, or he was playing a security guard. So I don't know if he's been quietly signed on as, a developmental, or he's trying to get his foot in the door there by starting out working security after he has already been in some TV matches in WWE. So that was kind of interesting. We had Kenny Omega defeating Blake Christian. Fun little match there. That's when Mike Bailey came out and the two shared some words with Ricochet showing up on the Tron. And, of course, Omega is defending the International Championship against both of those guys at Dynasty, and Omega is going to retain there 100%. Chris Jericho issued a challenge to Bandito for Dynasty. It's going to be a mask versus title match. So finally, Jericho is going to drop that Ring of Honor title. He absolutely will lose to Bandito. And that's good, because I'm sick of fucking Jericho. Whatever Jericho does after that, I don't care. MVP and MJF had another fun promo teasing MJF potentially joining the Hurt Business now, or Hurt Syndicate, excuse me. Now, at first, I was all about this idea. I think it has potential. MJF being the Owen in that group, like Owen was for the Nation, I thought would be kind of fun. And I think the personality would be interesting in there. He can certainly match them, for dressing and shit like that. They can all dress up in their suits. I thought it might be a little bit of an interesting alliance there. But the way the segments have been playing out, it's starting to feel like it's not going to be MJF. It's going to be somebody else. So when MJF was out there with MVP, they share their pleasantries. There's a, mutual respect there between the two. And MVP or MJF says, I've been thinking about this card a lot, and, wants to take him up on his offer or whatever. And that's when Lashley and Shelton come out, because they're not in the ring. And they both look unhappy, especially Bobby Lashley, who gets right in MJF's face. And MJF is like, MVP, what's going on here? I thought we were all cool. And Bobby Lashley says, give me the card. And he tears it up. And then he puts his fist on MJF's face and really intimidates him. And MJF's like, okay, I'll just bail out of here. We'll talk later. And he leaves, and he doesn't come back. Big Bill and Brian Keith come out to the stage. They won a championship match, and MVP basically buries Big Bill on the mic, which is kind of funny. And it begs the question, if MJF isn't going to join the Hurt Syndicate, who is going to join? And a lot of people are starting to sniff out that it's probably going to be Cedric Alexander. It's not going to be MJF. So Cedric coming in, reforming this faction, I think is great. I definitely hope he does come in. Other than Cedric, I don't know who it could be. I know they have been passing out some business cards, but I know Dante Martin, I think, might have gotten one. They've attempted to recruit Swerve. I think they might have they talked to Powerhouse Hobbs yet? Because he'd be another good one. Jesus. He'd be great. But it feels like it might be Cedric Alexander. And I kind of think, I don't know, if it was Hobbs, I would want Hobbs to be the centerpiece. You feel like Lashley is the main eventer, but he's actually the tag team champion right now with Shelton. If they brought in Hobbs, I'd position him as my heavy and have him go after the championships and stuff. But we will see. But it feels like it might wind up just being Cedric Alexander when it all is said and done. Kyle Fletcher, who I'm growing to love more and more with each passing day. My God, I really think he could be AEW's Randy Orton. Just a lot of similarities there, just in the vibe and stuff. And he had a fun-ass match with Brody King. That the fact that he can get Brody King up in a turnbuckle brainbuster was nuts. That move looked ridiculous. Hit that for the win, but it was a long match, couple of commercial breaks. A lot of guys got involved, including Mark Davis and Powerhouse Hobbs, who that whole segment then bled right into their match with Hobbs picking up the win over Davis. And that was another meaty match. I'm liking to see the business, AEW and WWE, having really, really solid big men. There was a time there where, big men, couldn't move. Their matches were bad, but we've got some quality big men. AEW even has Big Bill, Powerhouse Hobbs, Mark Davis. Look at WWE, Bronson Reed, Jacob Fatu. There are some really, really fun and entertaining big men in the business right now, and we are very lucky to have a lot of meaty men slapping meat out there. It's always what you want. I really enjoyed the Swerve Strickland and Jon Moxley promo. Swerve, he's great. He's tremendous. Moxley, not so much. Moxley was just going on and on, saying a lot of the same shit that he always says. But when Swerve came out, he made it a little bit more interesting. And I liked how he hit Moxley with the line about have fun playing the character of Jon Moxley, the same way Ambrose said to Cena all those years ago. You enjoy playing John Cena on TV or whatever he said. Swerve kind of threw that line back in his face, which I liked that. And there was a lot of intensity there in that face-to-face. And you really, really want to see Swerve Strickland beat Jon Moxley at the pay-per-view, but I'm worried. Marina Shafir showed up to try to distract Swerve and, attack him, but Willow Nightingale came out to fend her off, and Moxley wound up kind of bailing out there and retreating. And as much as I think every single fan is ready for the Death Riders angle to end, as much as every fan is ready for Moxley to drop the championship, I have my doubts. I mean, on Dynamite, you had Swerve getting the face of Hangman Page, and he said, "How dare you say you're going to interfere in my match?" I feel like they're planting seeds for Moxley to retain. And Hangman Page could maybe come out. A lot of guys could come out, and you could do something to where Moxley keeps the title, but you still protect Swerve. And I feel like fans are really going to be angry about that. And like I've said before, it just depends on what creatively they have planned behind the scenes. Like if Tony Khan wants to see this through, if the plan back in October when Moxley won the title was for him to drop it at All In, then they probably want to see that through. Otherwise, they're going to have to change their plans because the fans are making too much of a stink. So I want Swerve to win the title at Dynasty. I do. Because I just don't know how much more of this shit I can take. The AEW Championship belt has literally been held hostage. Why are they not? They don't even have the belt on TV. And you're asking us to sit through another 3 months of that until we get to July. I just don't know. So I feel like if the plan was for Mox to drop it at All In, you got to change that plan and put it on Swerve now. I'm assuming the Owen Hart tournament winner will still face the champion at All In, so I'm hoping that it's either Ospreay or Hangman Page winning that. If it's Ospreay, then maybe Mox needs to be the champion and Ospreay can beat Mox. But if it's Swerve, Hangman winning and challenging Swerve could also be great for All In. It just depends. But I feel like AEW should at least consider taking the belt off of Moxley at Dynasty because this is just really trying the fans' patience, They're kind of getting tired of it. And I have a great amount of patience. I have an infinite more amount of patience than any wrestling fan. Wrestling fans have no patience at all. They want everything. They want it yesterday. Me, I can wait. I don't mind. I'm always like, I'll just see how it plays out. But even I'm reaching my limits with this, it's just not hitting. I thought it was going to be big. I thought we were going to have Shane McMahon. I thought it was going to be all this stuff with Moxley. But these Death Riders suck, and I'm sick of them. Rated FTR is definitely due for a split. Cope and Dax and Cash had a big sit-down interview on Dynamite where Dax tried to explain why he got a little bit frustrated last week, and he opened it up with saying, I felt like, FTR, we took time away from our goal of winning the tag team titles to help you, and then when you didn't achieve your goal, it kind of my frustrations got the better of me, and Copeland didn't really like the way he presented that. So you could tell that there's going to be some issues there, and they quickly kind of squashed everything. And then Copeland said, why not, Death Riders? How about we challenge you for the trios titles at Dynasty? So Edge or Copeland now is out of the world title picture. He's going to be teaming with his buddies, so it's going to be Rated FTR versus Death Riders at Dynasty for the trios championships, and I feel like that's going to go badly for Rated FTR. They are not going to win the titles. They are definitely due for a split. The only question is who's going to do what to whom? Is it going to be Dax? Are they splitting up Dax and Cash? Dax has got a one-on-one match tonight against Wheeler Yuta on Collision that goes live in about an hour or so. So is this them beginning I don't want to see Dax and Cash split up. What are they going to do in singles? There's no room for them to do anything in singles in that company. Not with the way Tony Khan books and forgets about people for 3 months at a time. So I don't think it would do either of those guys good to split up and go into singles. So I don't know. Maybe it's going to be Dax wants to split with Cope and Cash is still a little bit on the fence about it. Maybe he's a little bit caught in the middle and you get this weird love triangle between the three. I really don't know what that's about, but it feels like they're heading for some sort of a split. Maybe, Dax and Cash turn on Copeland, and then Copeland at some point reunites with Christian. FTR goes after and wins the tag team championships, and then maybe they face Cope and Christian for the titles, and Cope and Christian win the tag team titles in AEW. Maybe that's where they're going. Whatever they're doing, they're heading for a split between those three good buddies. Konosuke Takeshita, one of my favorites in the biz, kind of directionless right now after losing the championship. At the pay-per-view, he defeated Mark Briscoe on Wednesday, and in the main event, it was a tag team match between Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford taking on the team of Thunder Tits, Thunderstorm, Toni Storm, Thunder Rosa. They did a backstage interview with Renee Paquette. Renee barely held it together when Thunder Rosa said, "You will lose to the team of," and she's got the Thunderstorm shirt, and then Toni Storm chimes in, "Thunder Tits." And Rosa goes, no, it's Thunderstorm. And Tony goes, not anymore. I've changed my mind. It's Thunder Tits, and you two are going to get double teamed like you've never had before. So more of the innuendos there from Toni Storm. And I like the main event because they are really presenting Megan Bayne as this badass monster. She's challenging Toni Storm for the championship at AEW Dynasty, and she pinned Toni Storm in this match, hit her with her F5 finisher move after Toni had literally hit her with everything. Megan Bayne even no-sold a hip attack and wound up putting Toni Storm down and pinning her. So I'm fine with that because it adds, a little bit to this match, and I think Toni Storm is going to retain. She's definitely going to beat Megan Bayne. I think she'll have a really hard-fought match against her, kind of like a Cena and Umaga type of match. I think that's what I would go for if I was Tony. If I was AEW, I would try to make Toni Storm and Megan Bayne at the pay-per-view similar to what Cena and Umaga did, because Umaga was seemingly unstoppable, and Cena had to really resort to some extreme tactics to put him down. Now, granted, I don't think Megan and Toni are going to have a stip the way Cena and Umaga did, so I don't think Toni Storm can rip off the ring ropes from the turnbuckle pad and wrap them around the neck of Megan Bayne, but it would be fun to see her try. So maybe they'll do something like that, but I think this was just a way to make this match credible, and so far AEW's done a great job with Megan Bayne, presenting her like the badass that she is, but she's definitely going to lose to Toni Storm at Dynasty. Tonight's Collision, we've got Wheeler Yuta versus Dax Harwood. We got Jamie Hayter taking on Queen Aminata. Top Flight is going to be taking on Big Bill and Brian Keith. So this ties into what we saw on Wednesday when MVP says, hey, you guys aren't even challengers. Go out there and win yourself some matches and then we'll talk. So that's going to probably get them on the winning track there tonight. And Mercedes Moné will be in action as well. Also, should be mentioned, Big Bill on Wednesday, he did kind of offhandedly mention Ricky Starks. He talked about when they were AEW Tag Team Champions that he lost the title, but he was never pinned. His partner was pinned, so that makes him think he's worthy of a tag title shot against Lashley and Shelton. So that was kind of fun. But they'll be getting back on the winning track tonight and starting their progression towards a title match. And will they put that on Dynasty? Is there enough time for that? If Big Bill and Keith get the win here tonight, then maybe on Wednesday they come bother the Hurt Business again, and then maybe we lock up that match, or I keep saying Hurt Business, Hurt Syndicate, and then we get that match officially set for the pay-per-view. I think it's definitely possible. So there you go. That's pretty much what we saw on AEW, and that is kind of the conclusion of my notes, which is good. That allows me to go over here to the chat a little bit and see what you guys have to say about everything. Got that super chat from Jay Boba. Got a few more coming in. Ryan Adams Jesus, man, kicking ass today. Thank you for another 20, my friend, from our friend Ryan Adams. If it's a simple favor, excuse me, if it's a simple favor, maybe if Punk wins the match, Roman has to acknowledge Punk as the best in the world. In a bigger term, maybe it's a match with Roman at SummerSlam or something with Paul in his corner. Yeah, one thing I said about Punk's favor is the fact that he's mentioning this and they're leaning in so heavily to it during WrestleMania season is this favor cannot be paid off like at SummerSlam. You know, they're mentioning it now. If it was a favor to be paid off later in the summer, then I'd kind of cool my jets on maybe over-mentioning it. So whatever the favor is, Ryan, I feel like we have to know no later than the Raw after WrestleMania, at the absolute latest. I think we will find out the favor either right before WrestleMania or at WrestleMania. And that's why there is still the chance of them adding Punk to the main event, which means Punk would have to win night one, but Punk would have to lose night two. There's no way Punk is going to go in there and win both nights. He's not going to win the main event on night one, be added to the triple threat, and then win the championship. No, I cannot see that happening. That would be very strange if all of that went down. But I'm hoping that whatever the favor is really turns WrestleMania on its ear, and makes this a worthy show, because right now I think a lot of us have some concerns about WrestleMania. Like I said, I'm glad I'm not going. I was devastated a couple months ago. Now I'm like, I'm glad I'm not going. I'm glad I'm here with you guys, you know? Michael Tong, I don't feel like main eventing night one is the true main event. The end of WrestleMania night two is the last match at Mania. Oh yeah, a lot of people are going to feel that way, but WWE does not. WWE now has the opportunity with 2 nights of WrestleMania to give more people the accolade of main eventing WrestleMania. But I'm kind of the same way. Night two, the final match is the last match, but you have 2 nights now, so there is going to be a final match on night one. And now you've got a little bit more of wiggle room when it comes to WrestleMania main events to be able to pass around to talent. Because sometimes you got 5 or 6 people worthy of a WrestleMania main event, but that spot can only go to 2 people. Now it can go to a minimum of 4. Sometimes it can go to 5 or even 6 if you do multi-man or woman deals. So I feel like Roman acknowledging Punk, I don't know. I mean, I could see that obviously bothering Roman, but would that be the favor? Would that be a favor that Punk's been talking about for months and months and months? Would Punk offer himself up into War Games just so 8 months later he can have Roman acknowledge him, or 5 months later? That seems like a weird favor, to put your body on the line in War Games just so in the future you can get Roman saying that you're the best in the world. That is something someone with a massive ego might want. But Punk's character isn't so much like that. Roman's is, Rock's is, but Punk, I think, not so much. So I don't know. I feel like the simplest favor it could be would be Heyman being in Punk's corner. That's, I think, the simplest the favor could be. Otherwise, it's got to be a little bit more massive, I think, than that. 5 more from Ryan. Main event number 10 for Roman. Thank you. 3 for Seth, first for Punk. So it is 10. I thought this might have been 11. So basically, last year for Roman counts as 2, right? So Roman got 2 main events in 1 year. And Seth got 1 last year. This will be 3rd for Seth. Now, what was the other ones? Does WrestleMania 31 count for Seth? What other Manias has Rollins main evented other than last year? So if this is the 3rd, I feel like 31 is going to kind of count, right? Because he did add himself to that match, right? It became a triple threat. So technically that counts. So yeah, 3 for Seth Rollins. Yeah, Zane, a lot of people bringing up SummerSlam, but I feel like if Punk was going to get a future title shot that wasn't going to be at WrestleMania or the night after WrestleMania, Money in the Bank is where I would want Punk's shot to be. And like I said, I don't think Punk should be over-mentioning this favor during WrestleMania season for it to be paid off at SummerSlam. The favor needs to be paid off at WrestleMania. That's where the favor is going to be paid off. So I personally do not believe that the favor is going to be a title shot at SummerSlam. I just can't see that being the case. That's too far off. Got to make sure Punk stays healthy, you know? Oh, that's right. Intuit Dome. Thank you, JP Reckless. That's where Money in the Bank is. I forgot about the Intuit Dome. Can Brett still wrestle a little bit? I don't know, but I can definitely see Brett putting Travis Scott in the sharpshooter. That's for sure. That's what I hope happens there. But anyway, that is going to pretty much conclude our episode for today. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you don't mind, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button yet, could you do that for me on your way out the door? That would be very, very helpful. Also, I want to apologize. Today's WrestleMania short is going to go up kind of late. You're going to get hit with 2 back-to-back ones. I'm doing one WrestleMania Memories recap per day, but WrestleMania 20 is not actually uploaded yet, and I have to leave. So when I get home tonight, I'll post that up there. I'll hit you with WrestleMania 21 tomorrow. And don't forget, we're going to be watching WrestleMania 28 in a watch-along tomorrow night right here on the channel. The link is already up, so make sure you drink an energy shot, eat your Wheaties, because tomorrow night we're going to be watching a very, very long WrestleMania and that main event between The Rock and John Cena. That should be a lot of fun. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything else I got to say to you guys other than thank you for being here. We want Lesnar. No, we don't, Zane. I don't want Lesnar. I suppose he could. I suppose he could show up at WrestleMania, but let's hope that he doesn't. I personally don't need Brock Lesnar there. But that's just my opinion. All right, guys, have a great rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much for hanging out today. I will push the audio feed out to the podcast sites when I get home later on tonight. So 7 or so hours from now, and you want to listen to this in MP3 form, you can do that. But unfortunately, that won't be available for a few more hours. But thanks again for being here, and I will catch you guys tomorrow night for WrestleMania 28. Peace.